right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Dia's Readings in Contemporary Poetry series. I'm Megan Whitco. I'm one of our curatorial associates here, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's reading, which is actually the first one of our new fall season, which is great. So this series was reinstated in 2011 in a partnership with our series curator, Vincent Katz. And these monthly readings highlight commonalities amongst poets and bring their work into a larger and broader conversation with one another. So it's my pleasure tonight to welcome our two poets for this evening, Larry Fagin and Mitch Highfill. And we want to thank you both for generously accepting our offer to be a part of the series. We also want to thank the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, as their generous support really helps make these evenings possible, as well as Brooklyn Brewery, who provides the complimentary beverages, and all of our DIA staff, particularly Max and Patrick and Blair and Claire, for helping to coordinate everything for these evenings. So thank you. And I'm just going to turn it over to Vincent in a moment, but I want to let you know that after the first reader, we take a brief 5 to 10 minute intermission before resuming with the second speaker. So it is now my pleasure to welcome Vincent up, who's going to introduce our first poet for the evening.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you all for coming to this first reading of our season. I'm excited to be here and to hear these two great poets read their work. And I'd just like to note our upcoming readings. On October 14th, we have Raphael Rubenstein and Monica de la Torre. November 11th, we'll have Bill Berkson and Angelo Micah Olin. And December 2nd, Paul Auster and Siri Hustvedt. So please come back for those. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Mitch Highfill. Mitch Highfill is the author of Liquid Affairs, Blue Dahlia, Koenig's Sphere, a dozen sonnets, Rebus, and Mothlight. His work has appeared in the journals Cuz, Snare, Gallery Works, The Poker, and The World, and in the anthology Heights of the Marvelous. Mitch Highfill is a fun flinger. He captures words at pitch point and shuffles them into his deck of perception. Olympic beer, Olympic sandwiches, Olympic grocery, Olympic gourmet. He has used chance operations, flirted with flarf. He has Google sculpted and bibliomanced. He's capable of abrupt juxtaposition in good New York manner, but Highfill is also a lyric love poet in the mode of poets of old. New York may be his pasture, but his passion is every bit as real as theirs. If you take your clothes off, I will too, begins an early poem, Alba. Like much of Highfill's work, it ends as an ode to the city, this city. His language is often plain, but don't let the casual manner deceive you. He's an expert painter of wordscapes. At their best, which is frequently, his poems coalesce into mental scenarios, which are gracious, familiar, and funny, too. Not the laugh out loud kind of funny, well, maybe sometimes, but the kind known in the 18th century as wit. His new poems still seem 18th century, but in a more muscular vein, as though Highfill has ingested strong doses of Alexander Pope. His poems have grown more complex and densely packed. His lines surge muscularly, his breath seemingly infinitely expansive, as in this passage from Filtered and Electrified. Tongue-tied costs too much, and we could be baking on the beach or prospecting for a sense of the collective in wings and white tunics. Yet these poems, like his early poems, have the tug of honestly perceived emotion. And Highfill is able to lay that on us as a gift almost, seemingly offhand, still the master of all he surveys. Please welcome Mitch Highfill to DIA.
I always thought that what I surveyed was the master of me. Blueberries. The NASA Mars Global Surveyor has photographed false blue spherules they call blueberries on the surface of Mars. Scientists say they are neither blue nor are they berries, but hematite spheres, hematite being a mineral form of iron oxide. When I first saw these pictures, they looked like something one might embed in a muffin or top off a bowl of cereal with. What kind of flakes might a Martian sprinkle iron oxide berries onto? Fuck it. The 9th episode of The X-Files, called Space, begins with an image of the so-called face on Mars, which Richard Hoagland, Richard is a former NASA scientist who wrote a book called The Monuments of Mars, published by Richard Grossinger, believes to be a sculpture of a face carved out of a mountain on Mars. To the skeptical observer, this face would be a combination of coincidence and accidental simulacra, having much to do with the exact angle of light on the mountain at the moment the image was captured, and the human tendency to see what is most familiar even when looking at something that is utterly unfamiliar, like the Old Man of the Mountain in New Hampshire, which has since collapsed, or the stone face in Pennington Gap, Virginia, or the sleeping Indian cliff face in Colorado. The fire hose next to the water fountain. How to explain swimming to someone who has never been in the water. The painful truth about working poor. We don't know where we are. Why do we look so much better in the mirror than we do in photographs? Does the camera really add 10 pounds? I don't remember me, only I. Mirrors flip the image. 848 priests were defrocked. There were no empty chairs. Could I have a cup of anything? An infinite number of parabolas passing through each other. Jim says he knows a woman who posts new selfies all the time in Facebook. In these self-portraits, she has a beautiful face. Not so in person, he says. Only when one has experienced the reality intended by the text can one claim to understand the meaning of the text. When I was a bartender, I often served a woman who performed phone sex for a living. This was before iPhones, so the act was entirely by ear. You would never see evidence of her career, but when she asked for a refill, she always used that voice. 7 and 7 was her drink. Why so many pictures of cats and dogs? Do people really want to see these images all the time? Is this some kind of toxoplasmosis epidemic? Because you see everything. Are toxoplasma crossing over from cat litter boxes to human brains, causing people to constantly photograph their cats and post them online? What would the payoff be for the parasite? Can these protozoans consume digital bytes the way they consume nervous tissue? Do they make digital pyrimethamine? The spherules spread out evenly and randomly inside rocks. Yesterday was the Buddha's birthday in Hong Kong. What it means to be in the presence of a mystery. Poems are seeds of content, blueberries made of hematite, narcissism of the breath, exploding head syndrome, deep blue as a scroll-down experience. To be filled with the spirit is when the boiler goes whoosh. Yesterday's bloom, today in tatters. Where I thought I was before I was here. The singer said all you got to do is dance, and you heard you got to lose your self-defense. We don't really know where we are. I am interested, but I do not believe. Does suffering really build character? And here we pause before being hanged by our ankles and exsanguinated. Psychedelic power grindcore, mental events as distinct from physical events. I stopped to smell the roses, and they had no scent. The language was alive, like living animals found in the heart of rocks. To be not surprised in the least, you choose what type of harm you prefer to endure at different moments. Fluky little germs in mechanical and mindless universe. Words that seem to develop a mind of their own. If you actively suppress a flow of emotion, it bleeds up somewhere else. Become a user or be used. The self-annihilating fate of the proletariat, like an observation that only someone on the spot could have made. Both the past tense and the past participle are laid. Bedbugbully.com. Accidental simulacra. People taking selfies at Auschwitz. To complain about the blandness of the mainstream is to insist that there is now a mainstream where there is none. To live in the light of the mystery of being. This is the first time. It is always the first time. This is only eyewitness testimony. Mirrors flip the image, but the image is primary. There is no other image but the primary. You got to lose your self-defense. This is a little sequence of poems called 14 Alba. Morning, May. I wake at 5. You are looking out the window at the sky. A couple of squirrels bickering on the cable, stretched from pole to pole. A cardinal perched on the fence, festooned with squash vines. The sun just came up, and I failed again to wake up before you, pen a deathless alba in the Trobar tradition that could be sung, at least in theory, if not always in key, but might have been slipped under your pillow as I marched to the office, hot tea in one hand and the news in the other. So now that we're both awake, what? Morning again. Wake up, 5:30 a.m., still nothing moving, your chest rising, falling easy and regular, and set out to right your hair against the pillow. First light, cheekbone and forehead emerge from shadow. The parrots make sorrowful noise in the back. Morning breeze lifts a strand or two. Exhausted, I shave and shower, make coffee, and make a great show of having to leave, only to be late to work again. Morning, perfect combination of fig trees, of light and breeze. Fig trees wave back and forth while the ripe ones waver, tempting the birds on the rooftops to come and devour them. I've showered and shaved, coffee brewing on the kitchen table. Wrapped in a towel standing at the foot of the bed, I watch you smile while you sleep. Your shoulder cups your chin, hands under your face, lying on your right side with your legs curled halfway to your waist. I am like those birds, and you are unwavering. Morning, and I am jumping out of my skin. Every time I see you again, I have to catch my breath. I can feel burning in the pit of my stomach after time away. That moves up to my chest when I see you and flows out the top of my head and through my hands and mouth and is pure desire and can only be increased, does not know the increment of loss, is satisfied but not put to rest. Morning, while reaching over to what is now your side of the bed, just to be sure and sadly confirming what I almost forgot, I open my eyes, look to the ceiling, and return to the world I was enjoying before I awoke. And to be sure, in that world, you are right here all the time. Morning, cloudy and cool, and as much as I like to watch you sleep stretched out on your belly, face resting on the back of your hand, hair spread out over and beyond the pillow, together your feet poking out from under the sheet, shoulder raised slightly, I climb back in to the bed, embrace you chest to back, whisper good morning into your ear. And it is. You'll notice these all start with the word morning, right? Morning, bright and clear sky, washed clean and blue from days of rain. The blackbird sings a duet with cicada, and once again I wake you up, our legs entwined and gently moving to a music only we hear. There will be trains to catch and breakfast and keep to earn, but this moment is at rest. We find what we do best can buffer time beyond a given intensity. Where your lips meet mine has a bite to it, an aerial view. Morning, you were dreaming of galleries while I am dreaming I am holding what you left behind, knowing I would navigate the simplest maze to take me back to where I was when I last saw us. But in these galleries, I am just around the next corner wearing a flowered aloha shirt, waving at you. Morning chill in the air. The figs are ripening all at once. We look out the back window, imagining chicken marsala with roasted figs, or chicory with roasted figs and beets and some kind of goat cheese. But right now, I need a shower and strong English tea, and stay put. I'll be right back. Morning, and the only sound I hear is your fingertips tapping on your iPhone. Your work day has begun. At least you are still in bed. The humidity of the day is not yet upon us. I suggest a thing or two instead of work, and you are mock indignant, thankfully. Morning, a storm is blowing outside. I wake up before you and roll over to watch you sleeping. I notice your hands are folded on the pillow in front of your face, lips pursed and hair spread out like a splash. I can't take my eyes away, so I don't. Morning, the red hat is on the beach, and so am I, but in the distance, carrying a bottle of water, skin greased for sun, but sand also, alas. Awake, but eyes are closed back to back, and it's already hot. Beach umbrellas wave before more heat comes on, theirs and ours, as if I needed a landmark to find you here. Morning, and we set the clock back last night, which of course offers an hour of more sleep. More dreams, hypnagogic signatures flashing just before the drift, over and out, as they say, someplace else to find ourselves, cozy on the outside, astral on the inside, our fingertips tapping to the beat of Shangri-La, maybe Eden, or Maui for that matter. Sure, we both could use another hour to replenish molecular relationships under our skins, to reboot relationships, our restless brains, and to wake up refreshed, or at least ready to fire up the teapot on the stove. That extra hour's sleep sounds like the thing to do, but we have other ideas. Morning, now dark when the alarm goes off. It gets cold in this apartment. Better to stay where it's warm, under cover. Better not to have to hit the freezing floor running. Quick to the shower and the tea kettle. Better to feed the dragon later. Better to hit the snooze button often. I don't like to turn on lights in these dark mornings. I stumble around in the dark at first. I declare a national holiday instead. All right. So that's that. So these now are new things, like brand new, pretty much. Cypher's arrest. So it came to me for breakfast. The core is woody and inedible and ends with the painter coming to this written word. You are expected to look away or into the eyes of babies who smile when they sleep and dream of big redwood trees that just happen to be in Paris, whose kingdom is vaster than our id, which began to run around the floor seeking steep odds and high risk, and though it invented fire and vivid colors, but each time further back until the lights go out at last. Man Ray said, it's a form of prayer. Only the wave moves and is now a potter's field where all is removed, retracted, and rebuked behind a daisy cloud that says midnight is not persuasive, more to name the leftovers of monastic seclusion like scissors or eggs under the bed, face sagging just a little, unlearns that which has made you ill, and now you are healed. After the virus. past the time when minds like bended moon to the end of a kite string let fly, or divided into 3 separate tall tumblers, scramble or stand by while you are wrapped around the width of the top plate and are urged to leave out what coils in the hand and is Baroque, not medieval, not a red Corvair, not even known in the sense of Crosby's red banner the poet plants upon the hill of time, and echoes winding around high cliffs over lands foreign to mine with gills attached. I read you, I really do. Deterioration becomes a kind of growth. Come all the way back, sit on the lawn in the rain, thinking how great this rain is. I envy that fixity, each drop evenly distributed rhythmically. And while I was following the level ground, the sky exploded. Filtered and electrified. Current times resistance, hands dripping with steel consonances and radiant epiphanies you have to undo because you haven't landed in the garden on your knees. A tar of rose around my neck, descending from rock to rock, covered with hieroglyphs. More persuasive than empathy is regulating the weather. During the first distillation, one lives with suspicion in a mock, ferocious way. Tongue-tied costs too much, and we could be baking on the beach or prospecting for a sense of the collective in wings and white tunics. The making of that moment. You might think the bird is not like you. Things that are moved by something like the annual rings of a living tree. If an encore is required, the walls and ceiling are painted red and flashy like a country western belt buckle, with a grain of salt where the sun appears or vanishes at the solstice. Left and right brain alive to the instant the leaves stir above while the water laps and wraps it up in tissue paper like we remember the first time, but not each and every other. In such detail as this is possible no longer in storefront windows that remain in first sight. So you will hear the rhythm of hard work and sudden dangers in the bright, quiet air. Or maybe I had this picture in my head. What would you pay to make it go away? Wow. Dear doctor, to lose the thread, lose the fear. As many trades as fingers, my house had burned down and my crops had failed, dragged me up the alley, right between the eyes, but tangible, a thing or being dimly visible, roots in the absolute, like a metal detector, counterbalanced abstractly. We fall until we can't fall anymore. You found me in the library. Look here, I said, learn to paddle. Can't you see I'm drowning too? The nurses seem to think so. Bad news last night from the lady downstairs. Needs slashed with mind. Hast thou committed thyself to the yoke? No, I was merely there. Here, that is. Time for an intervention, a sexual energy of wanting more. Don't smoke. Cut the salt. Jungle life. The work of edification. Regret nothing. My tongue is on fire. Love, etc. It was late and I thought about molecular dynamics. I thought there ought to be a way to disassemble and then reassemble those molecules just enough to pass through walls. And why not pass through the incidental objects that just happen to be on the way to some other assembly? People shaking and singing, and it is 14 degrees outside. And then a pearly white Corona appears and the skateboarders on the corner go for a pizza. Neo-personism. The new 20-ounce bottles, along with the usual logo, barcode, and ingredient list, have a new meme printed on the label. Sharing a Coke with, followed by a name like Joe or Wendy or Chris, so that now I can sit at my kitchen table alone and have a Coke with Steve. I don't think that's what Frank had in mind. Further exchanges. The chemistry of the brain or your own secret eye sunshine, green eyes clouded by mist carried me in from the car. Winds of singing the threshold of the peacock who will speak only to you, corporeal, name of a world, drawing another simultaneously with the beginning of alphabetic writing, to reconsider pretended depths which cannot be sold. Whichever way you look is between the lines. Getting a handle won't do, would just be an accomplice further than to heart, given what is omitted, which is pure pleasure returned from you. I thought that was you speaking outside the scope of my intention, through which a breeze blows, the black rose contracts, and the atmosphere is perforated with later circuits driving up the housewares aisle of our economy, trembling with awe. This is just a thank you note. Thank you. For Lamantia. This is great collected Lamantia that everyone here, you guys got to go out and buy it. It's amazing. And it inspired this poem. But it could inspire many more. Fly or be carried, with feet in both camps that duplicate flowers. Not the perfect movie yet to show off one's talents. You begin to ask questions about the narcotic power of soma. The blue monkey's fingertips spell a name. Don't try so hard. Be true to the moment. The entire universe manifests piles of industry haunted by the garden's last petals. And it is more important to write than to breathe, than to count. The earth grows over itself like a new lover. The mermaids have come to the desert. Lamantia again. If I hadn't looked back where I seemed to be backed up against my sentence on execution day, between the letters of this world, or old-fashioned wooden words reckoning from Noah's time, whose 3 sons scattered sawdust along the way, anticipating bail, cashing in on all the possibility. The cat eyes the goldfish before the goldfish slips from one realm into another. Giants lived here once, now dancing in the aura of a rock in a broad field, overgrown with consonants. Why a long memory will wait on the edge of paradise where Ema Sumac sings Begin the Begin. The air moved by her lungs, a poultice made of prayer wheels, text without end, like the austere measurements used to represent the mind to the mind. Patience as the palm trees sway, the pheromone fluorescence of our indulgence, a hidden genetic code like a traffic cop in the rear view mirror receding. The word elect also means picked troops. We put the mixture in our mouth, and all thoughts are created again, and you prepare yourself for the drawing room to read it inside out. One had to deal with one's own subject, a state of nervous expectancy, green bursting all around, and sideways on this page to reconcile the world map with your own topology. The good life being the object of the poem or the moment that follows, conceived as reciprocal. That is, let me let you know. Stare at the ground. What conveyed you here to begin with? Death and parking lots for Spicer. He said at one point that was the only things that are real. Short walk to the beach. Attendant on duty. Bike-only lot around the corner. Students must purchase a parking decal that is specific to a particular campus. This campus. Please consult the parking zone map to find alternate lots. The economy lots tend to be further from the center of campus. Tailgating is allowed by license 4 hours prior to kickoff and in designated areas only. Vehicles parked illegally may be towed. For decades, the parking lot was open to all. Indiana legislature votes to allow guns in school parking lots because the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Blue. The blue doesn't work in the forward and back of shining with tears, screaming, My index is burning. To finish a thing, like a thatched roof under the light foot of a dancer who lingers in time poised in the air. More is good. I am a fan of other words, of any one word found in the flask, which is inconstant and unpredictable. We are pointing at you. You really can't stay there below the stairs. We are parts of speech through which a few ceremonial items are restored, like the cup of the last drop, which burst from my skull while I was table tapping. It held a root beer float which could never be sipped or spooned or split in half by sorrow. Just two more. Black sun. Where is my inheritance about which a tribe, a name, a rose? Where was I born? Leaning against a tree outside the court of last resort like a metaphysical novel, leaves no flower unplucked, trying to remember my last time at the plate when all the trash talk was revelation. All your marbles were in the same bag, like irony with hostages, complete negation, an opaque body strung between trees, but the wind blew past the dictates of others, the marketplace and its mutations. Not an easy grace, not grace at all. The letter never sent when love produces a state of balance, a shining alphabet whose trade is blood and water. Inescapable viscosity, eager to ring bells and light bonfires, not asking for statistics, but becoming the numbers since your death under the offshore. To push the difference between theory and proof, my subconscious fatalism, jealous of need, neither eating nor drinking, but disastrous and angry, like mountains through the windshield, one's right of reprisal, so that we have unknown collaborators, and we remember it all the time. Dark visitation. It was there in your kitchen, though it must have been mine too. You were furtively wiping something away, alone, in the dark, waiting dark and illegible. I have no idea what to wear, you said, but I saw it was dark and full of light. I looked away, a loss of appetite. Cool hands, pale blue fingers wipe away, and as recreated, isolated back streets, dark skies come out to play, leering cousins from sinking towns all the way to the kitchen, tapping at the window. I threw the covers back, and as recreated, shimmering flecks in her dark nail polish, working on me for some time now, leering abdominal pain, no idea what to wear after the rain. I threw the covers back into the kitchen. Something smelled off in there. Loss of appetite in the dark brightness. Was it red you wiped away and thick, working in the dark? After the rain, I saw it more. Clouds roll in as you look away. Shimmering flecks now leering. Dark purple, it was snowing, but it never snows there. I said, what was reflected in the window, a parental visit, recreated, tapping, thick, but wiped away like a torn collar. It must have been mine, torn at the window, dark and illegible and sinking, feeling in the pit of the stomach as if nausea, reflected pale blue hands, wiping something away. It was red, wasn't it? Blotted out. So what I took away was our town had been sinking for years, a loss of appetite on account of sleep paralysis, shakes, and is recreated. How far the distance was out to play again. I threw the covers aside, a torn collar, maybe a tap at my dark window, maybe a bumpy ride. Something smells off in here, I said. Something is sinking, isolated pit of the stomach. I saw it, you said, dark and illegible and alone. Thank you.
Larry Fagin is a poet, editor, publisher, and teacher. He published the groundbreaking Adventures in Poetry magazine and continues to publish Adventures in Poetry books. He also edited the poetry magazine Sal Mimeo and the monthly poetry zine Un Poco Loco. He's the author of Rhymes of a Jerk, I'll Be Seeing You, selected poems, and he has done books in collaboration with the artists George Schneeman, Richard Tuttle, and Trevor Winkfield. Fagin's most recent book is Complete Fragments, published by Cuneiform in 2012. Larry Fagin's early poems share a concrete quality with the early poems of Aram Saroyan. Even more than Saroyan's, though, Fagin's poems feel like sculptures or other forms of art. Their visual aspect on the page is declarative. In addition, the statements these poems make are reduced, compacting their energy. Quote, "The evil eye is ridiculous, but it exists." End of quote. A dry sense of humor holds it all together, masking the technical brilliance. Fagin works equally with prose, with parataxis, with childlike rhyme. As his recent book, Complete Fragments, makes clear, he is a contemporary master of that venerated but perilous form, the prose poem. In these works, he navigates tone and sensibility like a master sailor. He is conversant with the dangers and possesses intimate knowledge of the coastline. In Know Which Backyards Connect, Fagin starts with a sententia about aging. Quote, "Not every story happens to everybody. You've changed some of your ideas. One of them was there's too much time in life. Not anymore." End of quote. The miraculous thing is, even though the next line is, "I still have sputum," and the poem ends with punning homonyms, it still retains its seriousness. Possibly this is due to the poem's context as a work dedicated to fellow poet Diane de Prima. Many of Fagin's works through the years have been collaborative or have been dedicated to colleagues. His publishing and teaching are part of the same humanistic effort. Fagin's most recent poems take all the qualities he has perfected and put them on a full-tilt speed coaster, like bebop with feedback, as he writes in Call Ahead. Or he can provide us with, as he puts it in Cellar Door, various earth dreams. These new poems are limpid, stripped down, precise, and ready for use. Catch him before he moves again. Please welcome Larry Fagin to DIA.
Gee, thanks. My father said, "Listen, stupid." He always called me listen. But I called my father stupid. He slammed on the brakes, teaching me to drive in Munich. That's enough funny stuff there. When I was in boarding school in Vienna in 1952, St. Stephen's Cathedral had been bombed, and it was still in a wreck. And there was a campaign to restore the roof with slates, with roof slates. So if you bought a roof slate, your name is registered there. And I bought one for 20 shillings, I think. And then years later discovered Pierre Reverdy and his book, which would have been translated as Roof Slates. So I'll read three versions of those. This is dark. A long needle crosses a circle, a tree, a finger, the one-eyed moon. The tired house is asleep, a call from the water's edge. Money flows through the trees. You are like a block of marble. Where have all the birds gone? Night, noise, a finger to someone's lips. Footsteps on the path of the little cemetery. and this is Crossroad. Stepping in front of the sun after the fall or the awakening, peeling off the breastplate of time, sleeping on a white cloud, sipping from clear crystal, air, light on the edge of the glass. Nothing stays in my sad hand. Finally, I'll have to live alone until the last morning. No word indicates which was the right way. And the last, God, these are really gloomy. Just realize that. But they're quite beautiful, actually. Silence. They kept talking back there. Men passed by 2 by 2. Maybe it was a prayer coming from their hearts. Between the walls of the clearing, a voice chiming across the water. The bird goes another way, awake in the morning, the darkened head. No one knows how many are passing between the wall and the garden when evening becomes hard and falls far away, whistle of a train. Okay, no more funny stuff. And these are recent prose poems. Remembrance of things lapsed. While in Hong Kong, I accepted gifts of a Patek Philippe watch and custom suits at Sam's Tailor and Modesto's. I came to meetings with Poland Spring water bottles filled with vodka. I wore clerical garb to the opera. I'm sorry for the pain I caused. I'm not sure how much time is left, but I don't feel anxious. There are many distractions: art and literature, music, cards, Anna, you, Gayfried, the cats, collections, and recollections. Thinking back to the fall 1967 when I took over Reliance Insurance and gave my first reading at the Poetry Project, all gone now. And just what was wrong with, quote, all its dizzy raptures? Tell me that. But keep trying. Look at Ashbury over there. He gives it all he's got. My favorite entropy. The stars at night are big and bright. I wouldn't open that in here. Save yourself. Montaigne says you must lend yourself to others, but give yourself to yourself. But in My Life to Live, the distinction between lend and give is eliminated. I don't get it. How does that privilege self over others? You need a key keeper to get inside your house. Then the bomb goes off. Throw everything away after using it only once. Betty, is it good luck or bad luck when a black cat crosses your path? Janitor, that all depends on what happens afterwards. Let's have a pretty poem. Ray. That's R-E. Ray. Re. R. Roses are red or white. Gray matter tells its tale of paradise where roses bloom. Though I dream in vain, oh honey, the heart is an artery. And as I regain consciousness, that's an inner cerebral bleed if I ever saw one. And I think, far out, dreams never end. For the moment, life is on its way through us, arms and legs. Call ahead. Inchoate sleep. That's just it, fear of drifting off. My legs get mixed up. Where are you? Skype is of no use. That's not my face or voice. Last night in Van Cortlandt Park, where I once found a silk square on a thorn bush, I was attacked and fought back, fluttering like bebop with feedback. You were about to say, pigs are obsessed with straw. You learned that at Versailles. But why not wake up and go somewhere? People is why. And they breed. On the air. I wrote a song for my cat. Would you like to hear it? No? There's no way to live it down. There's no truth in it either. Uh-oh, it's the Truth Squad. Feats, do your stuff. Yes, the no's have it. Anyway, you went to the typewriter, right? When's Querty coming? Oh, he'll be along right after Ma Perkins. Well, I'd say death is a good deal. There's no hindsight. A good deal of time, anyway. I mean, look at brave Hector. He's been dead a while. No, you look at him. I need my head examined by young Dr. Malone. And if I wear these Kleenex boxes on my feet, you promise to keep it on the QT, right? And don't stay too long in paradise. And turn off that fucking radio. Grunted Stove. The Grunted Stove is for Celia Coolidge, who at age, I think it was 6 or 7, was trying to say stunted growth. And it came out Grunted Stoves, which we took down. Grunted Stoves for Celia Coolidge. Doing a little writing, I see. Yes, I thought I'd take the plunge. Remembered stunted growth? It took place in a car. Once out of her mouth, the words dissolved. Well, you can't beat it. Life is full of it. Funny names, funny faces. But preference for something's non-existence doesn't prevent it from existing. Something new in the Dauphin's toy cupboard. Farewell, my queen. No one likes you. Yet our descriptions match. Olive green head, yellow throat, pink eyes, pointed tail. King René's chimney. I found an old issue of Antaeus on the sidewalk and read Peter Handke's story, The Lovers, translated by Ralph Mannheim. It confused me that both the man and the woman in this story are referred to as he or him. There are certain extrospective situations that put us in direct contact with people's minds and states. But how do I know they're not just my own? Walking around inside or just outside the castle, nothing is sure. But cuddle up a little closer. We could be the lovers, or at least on speaking terms. Near-sensical. Now it can be told, the sky touched your forehead almost. Who said all is partly? What about death? I'm open to it, but just a crack. Then all is rounded off. I remember now, it was my old art teacher, Mr. Jensen. Stars fell to earth, things land where they're meant to land. Never heard of you. You can sleep on the couch. It's freezing in here. One way to get warm would be to set yourself on fire or put on your woolies. Moira Dreyer. A bulb went out. A door is contrariwise passed through. The thing that doors understand is pushes. To quote the great George Foghorn Winslow, something softening is to pull away from. Pencil it in. Let the pencil roll off the desk. Oh, I must kiss her blue thumbprints. Blockheads are at the gate. Go now, you that way, we this way. But once out of the world, must we return to be troubled again, time and again. Better stay put. Call this number, bosom of family, for help. But who remembers Mama? Poem that says, quoting a Yiddish proverb, sleep faster, we need the pillows. I went for a schwitz, but it didn't solve my problems: old age, sickness, death. I hung around with young people, but nothing rubbed off. I came to the point, but found only the moot. What are you doing New Year's Eve? Better I outlive you, plural. Who would manage the details? Design, production, promotion, distribution. You? This mechanical life. Already the work, casing on wood, looks sure of itself. Get next to it. Cement not what it's cracked up. They're on their way, the judges. Speak responsibly. Do we need a premise? Look for one. Anything lying around will do. Simply put a little in your hair. Gloomy situation. Haven't you heard? He can't be killed. He's not just another empty kimono. Don't spend too much time on this. Relax. No, I'm more comfortable tense. The whole thing is a mystico. Don't go out there, you'll freeze. That's what they want, so they can carry you off intact. Yeah, well, first I'll blow up that creepy wine bar on 12th Street. Then I'll take out everyone east of 1st Avenue. That would cost money, several squintillion by the time he got through. So now our best hope is for a somewhat cheaper program that generates more doom for the dollar. Okay, paralysis. Curare or something. Restore his vanity. You can hear the ringing in his ears a block away. He used to be an obedient farm animal. Then the farmer's daughter brought on anaporia. It drove him crazy. He switched from gas to oil. Men showed up uncoiling hoses. That was a nightmare I had once. Still is. Faded spirit. This is for Tom Rayworth. Faded spirit. He buttonholed you and told you, stay awake. Don't take the gas pipe. Thanks for the tip, but it's not all in the mind. Imagine getting in the neck every step of the way. You can't. Unlike some people, I want to live, never report or explain the experience, not shuffle underlying elements, reside quietly in a pink rhombus. Blow sociology. Stories for young and old. The young are busy with the things in their hands. The old want them to know, but are having trouble with their belt loops. You can tell them, but they'll just turn away. One way is to come out and sing it. Maybe no way is best. Go under, where they can't see your head. Not the you. But I like their bas-reliefs, the ones made of microchips. They tell you a lot. 12:30, time for your drops. They all go in the same stomach, unless you're a cow. Intrinsic rikpa is congruous with emptiness. This you know. Here's a poem about suicide that I really like. Leaving So Soon is the title. That's the title. That's just the title. I just realized that that's what this whole book was about. Leaving So Soon is the title. Leaving So Soon. Let me show you to the window. I crumble when you're near. Now I'm spoiled, curdled. A shift in the sky causes numberless openings. Bodies come quickly to fill them. The moon, too, the various frames for its appearances may be touched. And the cool windowsill. Look at them down there, the vast, unmotivated bouquet, walking or standing. Go ahead. You just might miss them all. Waterworks. Why not waterworks? You got your fireworks, your earthworks, your gasworks. What's wrong with waterworks? Well, they're so sad. Marie is turning on the waterworks. She'll get a lot of attention that way. I'm going down to the waterworks and wring myself out. I have to tell you straight away, I can't stand the stuff touching my skin, stumping my medical team. Amanda E. is a guest in my house, an artist. We're unable to cry, not even for joy. We were all such cute guests when we were young. We stopped looking at poetry. That's not true. I never got the poems of George O. What's wrong with me? Is he really greater than Edgar G? No one's better than Robert W. Service. Is it W? Or Joyce Kilmer, who died in the Great War. Did she? Other deaths go unreported, unmourned. I want no burial. Give me the fireworks, crispy. Then put me back on the shelf between Betsy Fagin and Edgar Guest. Oh, never mind, I'll do it myself. I love you, Amanda. You make me run to the typewriter, and we lied about poetry. We still see it, flipping and flapping in the breeze, something to do when you're stuck in Bart. So this one's for you, Amanda, so cute and true. Return to me, love, Throckmorton P. Gildersleeve. The great Gildersleeve. Dear statue, so if their butter is too soft for the health department, don't eat there anymore. And stop cringing. Don't imagine what would make you happy. For once in your life, go limp. I kissed you best I could, but the screen was cold and clammy. Your mind can't know itself, you know. Was it ever meant to be seen? Everywhere itched. Inside plaque light. Let's eat. $4.50 for a plain slice? It can't be made right. We'll just take pills, eliminate the difference between give and lend, weakening the hierarchy of self over others. And for dessert, fall to earth. Shannon's running late. This is my super's daughter. Wanted to go to, it's Mike Kelly, in joke, wanted to go to Europe, and her father needed to shell out some money to go to Europe, and he wouldn't do it. And so we happened to be together. I said, Mike, why don't you give her the money? You know, she didn't ask to be born. And his jaw just dropped. He had never thought of that. In fact, no one ever thinks of it. And I didn't ask to be born. And so you owe, I said, you owe her. You know, you're the cause of all her suffering. So this is a true story. It was a true, he's such a sweet man. And I got her, and I said, Shannon, I'm going to take 20%, you know. Shannon's running late. She said the main thing is not to take emotions seriously, though they're punishable by death. She's content with plague. She didn't ask to be born. She sat corrected in Grenada. Are you sure it has film in it? Sure, I'm sure. The Alhambra will come out pink. She conflates absolute and contained. No surprise there. She'll have to give that diamond clip back, though. It's Edie's. But she'll inherit her father's pipe wrench and his flapper valves. It's the super. He's got more money than everybody. An old stratagem after Jasper Johns. Sermons he read and lectures he endured. He thought they ought to shut down the poetry project. Poems are everywhere, anywhere, anyway. Take your sweetie to the movies or out to the ball game. You see it, then make it. Or you make it, then think it. I like both. They're mixed, the rotating point of view. Like there's something happening out there in that building. Not insane, just unknowable. That too. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack, or cloves of ideas stuck in the scheme of an orange. Or one of Leonardo's big ideas, quote, "Therefore, O painter, do not surround your bodies with lines." Everything looks busy to me, too. We meet again if we should understand each other. The Moke Eaters. You and Tu Fu, you know what's wrong with you. The poorly advised emperor banished worthy officials. Can you change what was? Flares on falling leaves. You're both asthmatic. You lost your jobs. Existence is effectively over. Your works wait in the wings. Tears cover bosom. The courtiers are bolted into their bucket seats. Beyond the trees, a yellow oriole sings its glad song unheard. That last line is a little translation of Tu Fu, from Tu Fu. This is inspired by The Thief of Baghdad, the spoken version, not the silent one. The princess was drugged when they docked at Basra. She awoke in love with Jafar, his picture in the yearbook. "Wind, wind," he cried, and the sails filled. Snapping the book shut, she clipped off the tip of her nose. Let her go and God bless her. He lost his personality in a one-goat village, his ability to impress, splendor with no vulgarity. He was chipped. One chip contained a true experience, floated down, melted on her fingertips. To the pyramid. If you get there, you've gone the wrong way. I don't know if I believe that, but then I've never been there. Today I'm at home. Friends say they like the way the place is falling apart. Am I? Not since I've been off wheat. If I'm in one piece, it's on my mother's side, though my father lived to be 108, which adds up to 9, which is as high as you can go. The fine point we in the West put on it. Look at us, up past our bedtime scribbling away. This is the committed. Suddenly, we're in a specimen jar with our friends, the hookworms. If only the bigger picture would get out of the way, we could rejoin our program, mouth-breathing, love-making drainage. Wait a minute, where's Minta Hayes, she of the powder pigeon bosom, when you need her? Well, don't just trust your taste from 57 years ago. Try this fresh almond butter on millet bread. Wheatlessness is next to godlessness. I believe that, actually. 2 more. Sloppy autopsy. Quite an image. That should just be the poem. Sloppy autopsy. Use your imagination. Right? Younger than springtime am I. Cheerfully insubordinate am I. Who require a blue serge tent. Montenegro cigars, big international whores. See to it. Last thought, bold statement, best of luck. Initial spark, blue doorbell. We went around the world, but nothing came of it. You're showing too much face. Mouth, nostrils, chin ensemble. Cylindrical lip ornament, impediment. Forgot to open your lens wide enough. On out chorus, left hand louder than right. And this is intention I. Don't come any closer just to see your own nose. With torches, masks, mandolins, the dancers put their backs to you. Watch your step, you're always underfoot. Mustn't touch Tiapalo Wato, their close character and great partition. Imagine such puff of smoke wrapped about you. The glass is warped and pitted, and there you are. Take my hand. We'll spend our money in Elysium. All the musk, silver silk, tattered simulacra. Thank you.